I'm Grant Pinkerton, and welcome to Pinkerton's Barbecue. We're here in San Antonio today. This is the second location. Our original is in Houston. We opened that one in 2016, and we opened this one in February of 21. Both of my parents are cooks. None of them work in the restaurant field. None of them really, they don't cook barbecue, and I wouldn't say anybody in my family really cooks barbecue, but I come from a line of people who, they cook good food. For me, when I was young, I think my first experience with meat and fire was when I was 9 years old. I was standing out by the grill with my dad, and he was cooking steaks, and he was just kind of talking out loud and asked, you think these steaks are done? And I took my finger and I poked him. I said, they're done. And he didn't really believe me, and I said, take them off. And so he took them off the grill, and we walked inside, and he cut it open, and it was perfect. And he looked at me kind of like, what was that, And so we did it again, and then, kind of 10, 11 years old, I was manning the grill, and the jump happened to barbecue because grilling is fun, but it only lasts like 10 to 15 minutes. I said, if I cook a brisket, I can play with live fire and, be cooking for 9, 10, 12 hours at a time. So naturally, we went from grilling to smoking barbecue, and that's kind of how it went. It was something that was a hobby of mine even as a young kid. I used to love going to the butcher shop, looking at the different cuts of meat, talking to the butcher, just something that always really fascinated me. When I was a little kid, I asked my dad for a barbecue pit for Christmas, and he bought me one, and first thing I ever did was go and buy a brisket, put salt and pepper on it, and stick it on there and smoke it. I tell everybody the first one turned out great, and the next 50 turned out terrible. I grew up in Houston. I was in FFA, learned how to weld, build barbecue pits, played football. Then I went to University of Texas at Austin. I went in 07, and that was kind of the very beginning of the barbecue renaissance. In 09, Aaron opened his trailer, and the Austin barbecue scene exploded. I graduated, I moved back to Houston, and kind of wondered what had happened in the barbecue scene there in the time that I had been gone. And there were a few people that had just started doing this craft barbecue thing, and it was something that really caught my eye. And so I started doing it on the weekends while I was working at another job, and just doing it for fun out of my parents' backyard, and got my social media fired up, and kind of started building this business one brisket at a time. Eventually my boss where I was working told me, Grant, you have real talent for this, you have real passion for barbecue. You're 24, you don't have a girlfriend, you don't have any debt, and now's the time to go and try to make a run at doing this as a business. So I took all the money that I had made, and I bought a little trailer, and that very first weekend I had my first pop-up, and started building Pinkerton's Barbecue from there. That was in 2014, and by 2016 we opened the Houston location. I lived above that restaurant for 3.5 years. Worked the pits, cut on the front line. That was my life, that was my house. I used to tell people all the time, when you're coming here, you're coming over to my house for dinner. I try to carry that over into this location and still there, even though I don't live there. That's kind of our mantra here at Pinkerton's is, when you come here, you're coming to our house for dinner. We want you to be treated as such. One of the big things for me was building my brand through social media. I was a young guy in what I would consider an older guy's game at the time. I was 24, 23, 24, 25. I really wanted to appeal to my demographic. It was the customer base that I knew. It was the people that I knew. They were quality-driven customers, and I really knew that I could hone in and focus on those people through Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. So that was a big part of how we got going. It was another thing is, you can cook phenomenal food and put it out there, but nobody knows that you're cooking in your parents' backyard, right? So, you are who you look like you are on social media, and so I love the term "fake it till you make it," and we kind of rode that as far as we could, and once we had the trailer and we were pulling around, it was no problem. But social media was a really big thing for me as far from branding, marketing, and that kind of stuff. I like to tell a lot of people I'm 100% self-taught. I never went and understudied anywhere. I didn't read anybody's cookbook. I didn't do any of that. Everything that we have done, I've developed, has been organic. list or anything like that. It's just one of those things. I'm one of these people that when I want to do something, I set my mind to it, I kind of relentlessly pursue it until I get where I want it to be. Kind of that inspiration piece for me, you know, especially opening in Houston, was I'd cook with mesquite, and a lot of people don't really cook with mesquite there. It's not really a regional wood. But for me, I have family out in the hill country, in the western hill country area, out in Junction and that kind of stuff. And I remember as a kid driving out there and eating at these barbecue places out there, and really wondering why this barbecue is so much different than what we got where I was from. You know, I came from a place where everything was sliced real thin, it was kind of dry, and out there it was smoky, it was real salty, fatty, those kind of things. And so really when I came back to Houston, that's what made me want to cook barbecue, was I want to cook barbecue that tastes like that. I don't necessarily want to cook barbecue that tastes like what we have here, so I started cooking it myself. And so I'd say those kind of weekend trips out to the ranch and eating at those places, those one-off places, it was just different, and that really got me chasing the barbecue dragon. You know what I'm saying? One of the things we focus on here is the experience. You know, there's a lot of places you can get excellent barbecue, but what we want people when they come to eat at our place is to have the best experience possible eating barbecue. Whether it's bringing a bunch of friends and sitting down and being able to sit somewhere comfortable, have a great meal, you know, have that fellowship. One of the things we do here to facilitate that process is we like communal style seating. Like, I want you to sit with somebody that you don't know. I want you to sit next to somebody and kind of, you know, make a barbecue table friend where you're both eating and you turn to the person next to you and you're like, man, these ribs are great, or these brisket are great. You know, barbecue brings people together, and that is a huge portion of why I love doing this. I love to cook barbecue. I love to cook barbecue more than I like to eat barbecue, but more importantly than that, I love seeing community come together through barbecue. We know what good, we know what great is. We set out to do what we want to do. We keep very clear focus on what our game plan is, not only as a business, as individuals working here, as employees, as that kind of stuff. We know what we want to do, and we try to relentlessly pursue that quality, repetition, every day, and always try to be a little bit better. You know, when I got into this business, there's a guy, and I'll leave his name out, that, you know, is probably one of the most successful people in barbecue. And he told me that, you know, if you're going around trying to always be and chase other people and try to cook like them or this, that, and the other, you will always be second best. You will never be the best version of what you're going to be. And I see a lot of guys do that now. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I think one of the cool things about what we do here is we do what we do, and we do what I've always done. So the cheese rice that you eat here, the duck and sausage jambalaya, that is what you get when you come to my house. And so my mission is to make that exactly how it would be if I cooked it for you when you came to my house for dinner. You're only as good as your crew, right? As your support staff. We work real hard to maintain those people that are, you know, philosophically aligned with what I want. I'm fortunate that I have really great people working for me. So we set it up so we have you know, executive chef and managers at both stores, a regional manager. We have me. We trained everybody in the Houston pit room at the original location to come work over here. So we have a large structure of people. We employ 80 to 90 people. You know, that's 80 to 90 families that are being provided through this, and that's what we call the Pinkerton family. It's not just the guy that's here, it's their kid that gets to play Little League. We sponsor people's teams, we like to do stuff in the community, but at the end of the day, you know, we're the nucleus that makes all this stuff go. So to me, it's very important that I can have that staff and have, you know, that central nervous system in place that allows us to have these two places so that we can provide jobs for all these people. All of our beef is Creekstone Farms. You know, we use a all-natural, hormone-free, humanely raised, antibiotic-free, the top of the top, Black Angus Prime from Creekstone. Their all-natural brisket, in my opinion, is the best tasting brisket that you can get on the market. They feed their animals about 90 to 100 days longer on feed than most lots do. And to me, that gives the fat an extra buttery texture and this really kind of unique, intense beefiness to the beef that you don't find with a lot of commodity beef. I've eaten it next to Wagyu and this kind of stuff. It just is very palate friendly. It holds extremely well, so Since we do lunch and dinner, those briskets sitting in Alto Sham or some sort of hot box, they hold up really well. They last. They get better and better as the day goes on. For our pork, we use an all-natural pork product. It's a Duroc Hamp mix. I really enjoy cooking it. I think it's excellent quality, and I love the fact that it's an all-natural product. One thing that makes us different than a lot of barbecue restaurants is, we're not into cutting corners here. We steam every potato in-house. We peel every potato in-house. We chop every green onion. Nothing comes here processed. We do it all ourselves. These aren't recipes that we, got off the internet or some food distributor sold us. These are things that I grew up eating, and we literally took what I did in my backyard growing up and moved it into a menu here, which for me is really special. You can come up here and eat that potato salad that you shared with grandma as a kid, or the cheese rice that mom used to make with barbecue. For me, the food here is filled with a lot of memories, and for me that's really special. Everything we do here, we cook with post oak and mesquite. So we like to start everything with mesquite and we finish it with post oak. The mesquite has that nice earthy nuttiness to it. The post oak has that sweet, nice finish. And so I kind of believe that at some point in the cook, we transition over, so we never enter the bitter side. We just want to kind of capture that earthiness that mesquite brings, and then kind of that lighter, sweeter notes that the post oak makes. At this location, we run all mill scale for all of our beef products. I really prefer to keep the beef on an offset pit. I think it cooks better that way. I think you get a better bark set that way. I think your exchange of moisture is better that way on the brisket. We use J&R Oiler pits at this location only for things like sausage, turkey, kind of shorter item meats. One thing that I really like about these mill scale pits is you get great bark formation because you don't get a lot of moisture buildup in the pit. There's a lot of fire burning at all times. I run uninsulated fireboxes because the more wood burning, the drier heat you're going to get, the better bark. When you have all that insulation in there, a lot of times you're actually cooking with a coal bed, and you're just adding a stick of wood in order to keep that coal bed alive, but really that barbecue pit turns into a real large oven at that point. I try to tell people a lot of times, if you've ever been camping and you have a propane heater and you run that in your tent and it's real cold, you're going to wake up and your tent's going to be sweating real bad. But if you've ever gone out and run a wood stove in a big outfitter's tent, the tent stays dry. That's because the wood combusting is a very, very dry heat. Even something like coals is a much more wet heat. So you want that combustion to dry out the air, to help that bark formation, help seal in the moisture in the briskets and that kind of stuff. One thing that's kind of a little bit different here is we do offer beef ribs every day. So every day we're open, we have beef ribs. I love it. It's a Texas staple. It's probably the richest piece of meat you could ever eat. But I think if I'm going to come in here and I'm going to order two things, it's going to be fatty brisket and glazed pork ribs. I love a sweet pork product, and these pork ribs are like meat candy to me. So I'll eat my brisket for dinner, and I'll eat my pork ribs for dessert. Another thing that I really like that we have on our menu here, that's one of my dishes, is a smoked duck and sausage jambalaya. That is one of my recipes. I grew up, I'm a big hunter. I love waterfowl hunting. That recipe came, I had a whole bunch of old ducks sitting in a freezer one day, and we had a tailgate party the next day, and I said, boy, I don't know what to do with all these ducks. So I said, maybe I'll put them in a jambalaya and we'll take them out there. And we took it out, and it was like the biggest hit of the tailgate party. And all my buddies said, you have to put this, if you open a restaurant one day, you've got to put this on the menu. And so we let it live as the permanent special. So if you come in here, it'll be on the specials board, but don't worry, it will always be on the specials board. One thing that's come into popularity quite a bit in the last, I'd say, 8-10 years is turkey has become an extremely popular barbecue meat here in Texas. We offer turkey every day. It is probably one of the sleeper menu items here. It is phenomenal. We do a dry rub on it. I know some guys stuff it, some guys brine, but I think our turkey is really moist, and the way we do it creates a really, really nice product. It's kind of got a little Cajun kick to it. I love it. customers seem to love it. So one of our famous original sides would be our jalapeno cheese rice. It's not spicy. If you're looking for some, blows you out, that's not it. It's a comfort food. It's a recipe that's been in my family for a real long time. And when I was a kid growing up making barbecue in the backyard, if I had a brisket on, Mom would always make sure that we had a pan of jalapeno cheese rice. So I knew when we opened the restaurant that had to be on there. That's one of our highest selling. We have a rosemary bacon mac and cheese that is another very popular item. But if you're gonna come eat barbecue, you can't eat barbecue without potato salad. And if you eat barbecue and don't order potato salad, I don't know what to tell you. So one of the things about our concept is a lot different than most every other craft barbecue joint in Texas is we have a full bar. We believe that you should also be served craft cocktails, craft beer. If you're a person that's coming that is a quality shopper, you're gonna want a quality drink too. Bourbon, high-end bourbons and tequilas go and pair really well with barbecue. We are not just a open for lunch, closed by 2 p.m. place. We want to be open for lunch and dinner. We want people to come here and spend an hour, spend 2, spend 3, come hang out. Like I said, well, one of the reasons why I love the downtown San Antonio store is kind of the similar thing that we did in Houston. When I went back to Houston, we have a lot of people that come visit Texas. And in my opinion, it's really important that they leave having a good barbecue experience. In Houston, we have a lot of business travel. In San Antonio, there's a lot of tourism. The last thing we want is somebody coming to Texas, trying Texas barbecue for the first time, and then leaving saying, Texas barbecue, it's okay, or it's not good. So when I saw that there was an opportunity to open in downtown San Antonio, it was an opportunity for me to give people that Texas barbecue experience over and over and over again, which to me is the most special part of the job, where they could leave the state and go back to wherever they're from, like, I went and had Texas barbecue and it was friggin' awesome. We wanted to do that in Houston, and we wanted to do that here, and this space really afforded us that ability to, open people's mind to, hey, this is what Texas barbecue is, this is how good it can be, this is how it's different than other places, and, go spread the gospel. One of the things that I like to do that a lot of guys who are in the Texas barbecue scene, especially in the restaurant scene, there's not a lot of crossover between your competition guys and your restaurant guys. But I love cooking barbecue and I love competition barbecue. I like the ability to be able to get creative, to think outside the box, or to think inside the box. We enter a lot of the competitions under our other name, Come and Eat It. Come and Eat It Barbecue. You can check them out online on Twitter, Instagram. But one thing that we've done, one place that we've gone that we've had a lot of success is Memphis in May. We started going in 2019 and we've held the beef title since 2019, so I'm pretty proud about that. We've taken first place each year, and we hope to go back next year and defend the beef title. I felt it was only right that a guy from Texas is the one winning beef in Memphis in May. Don't get us wrong, I love to cook pork, but I think it's important that the beef title stays here in Texas. Yeah, it is pretty neat, and when I talk to people from the South, and they're like, yeah, well, it's not the pork category. I'm like, motherfucker, that category has more turn-ins than any other category out there. I said, we do whole hog too. There's 42 or 48 teams that are doing whole hog. There's like 168 entries for beef. When you come here, you're coming over to my house. We want to make sure when people come here, they have a great time. It's all about the experience here. We want you to have that awesome cocktail. We want you to have that awesome tray of barbecue. We want you to sit here and watch the game and make memories and, let us be a part of your life and, giving you a great experience. We're very fortunate that, both our stores are doing real well right now. I don't ever like to jinx anything, but, one of the things I always say is, I cook barbecue, but I'm also a businessman. So, if there's ever any opportunity in the future, I'll never say no. I always listen to every opportunity that comes up. So I don't really know what the future holds right now, but we're not going anywhere. We're going to be here for a long time. If you're in Houston or you're in San Antonio, come check us out. What you can do is you can follow us on our social media. I'm always on there. That's me behind the Twitter, the Instagram. Follow us at pinkertonsbbq.com, at gpinks. Either way, we love to interact with you. Check out our website. We have a whole shop on there. You can order t-shirts, briskets, barbecue sauce, whatever you want.